Hello, Theodore Schubert here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. I guarantee that. 3,000 Muslim terrorists who are members of ISIS, al-Nusra, and the Free Syrian Army are surrounding Christian villages in Lebanon. They are coming from Syria, and they are surrounding these little Christian villages, and they want to attack these very Christian villages. What is interesting and what is noticeable, what needs to be pointed out, is that amongst the 3,000 are numerous members of the Free Syrian Army. And just to read to you guys a quote from INA, which is a Middle Eastern, Syrian Christian news agency, it says, some 3,000 Sunni jihadist fighters have gathered in the Syrian Kalamun Mountains bordering eastern Lebanon, poised to attack a series of Christian towns in northern and central Lebanon. They appear to be preparing to undertake a pincer attack on the north around Tripoli and in the south from the Syrian Golan Heights, according to the informed Middle East sources, as they appear to be surviving the harsh winter in the mountains for a possible series of attacks in the spring, which is coming soon. The sources say the fighters comprised of ISIS and the al-Qaeda-affiliated Jabhat al-Nusra survived the harsh winters in the mountains to position themselves for a possible series of attacks in the spring. To keep open supply lines, the jihadists are conducting sporadic guerrilla attacks against the Lebanese army. Nusra and ISIS fighters generally have been fighting with one another, but in Lebanon there appears to be increasing coordination of the fighters, although their objectives are different, sources add. And it continues on to talk about Free Syrian Army fighters, and it says, according to Middle East analyst Mario Abu Zaid, elements of the Free Syrian Army, which has U.S. backing, also have begun to team up with Nusra fighters. And this is what Mario says, quote, Free Syrian Army fighters had begun to lose hope of receiving any significant aid from foreign stakeholders. The well-supplied Nusra front won the trust and loyalty of these fighters, and which translated into cooperation in Kalamu. So we have al-Nusra fighters who are being backed by the U.S. working with, we have Free Syrian Army fighters Free Syrian Army fighters who are backed by the U.S. working with ISIS, working with al-Nusra. So the terrorists that America is working for, that other Western nations are allying, are working with ISIS, who is declared to be an enemy and a terrorist group by Obama and the U.S. government. Let alone, never mind the fact that America is working with them. So let me get this straight. The Muslim terrorists who America is backing is working with ISIS, which is an Islamic jihadist terrorist group, and America is working with Muslim jihadists who are working with Muslim jihadists who America deems as terrorists. How do you explain this? You explain this by simply pointing to the Bible, where it talks about Satan as being the ruler of this world. And we go into... Well, hold on. I'm going to save myself from going on into that. Just give me a minute now. Let me play to you guys a video that I got from Russian television. It's just a short little documentary that shows ISIS members surrounding Lebanon, has an interview with a number of these ISIS members, and it talks about the 3,000 Muslim terrorists who are surrounding the Christian villages. Play the clip.
Now, mass executions, kidnappings and beheadings are just some of the atrocities committed by Islamic State as the bloodthirsty jihadists try to establish a caliphate across large areas of Syria and Iraq. The group has also killed a number of Western journalists. RT's Maria Finoshna travelled to Lebanon, which has allowed anti-Assad fighters to cross its border. There she spoke to one of the jihadists.
You will not find black jihadist flags or meet bearded men in long robes here. But this is where Islamic State's key holdout in northern Lebanon is.
We are now in a small Lebanese town just next to the Syrian border. It used to be for years base for Free Syrian Army fighters battling President Assad in Syria. Syria is just meters away from here. But today, the owner of this house, for example, as well as other houses here in this village, hosting guests of different type.
After days of negotiations, they agree to meet us after evening prayers.
I cannot tell you who I am, but I can tell you I am from ISIS, and I represent ISIS, and I am a soldier in the army of ISIS, the army of Islamic State. Our goal is to defend our Sunni brothers, who are suffering from injustice around the world, especially in Lebanon and the north.
In the last month, the area of Lebanon bordering Syria has been shaken by fierce clashes between the army and Islamists.
They want violence, and they are asking for it, and we will do it.
They call themselves a sleeper cell, ready to be activated up at any time. It's how ISIS functions, they explain. They told me they've already recruited around 3,000 members and are getting ready for their fight.
We train them in several levels. Every 500 are trained together.
I ask who's training them.
They are military experts, but we cannot reveal their identities and names.
Before joining ISIS, these men were fighting in Syria as Free Syrian Army soldiers and later among the Al-Nusra Front. But they claim none of these was as powerful and successful as ISIS now is.
We want to bring back our land, and we will return it back, even if all of us have to die.
I inquire who they consider their main enemy to be.
The main reason for all these problems are the militias, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. Hezbollah is killing our brothers in Syria. Hezbollah implements a foreign agenda of Iran and Russia and others.
It feels uneasy sitting with members of the group responsible for publicizing so many cold-blooded executions of innocent civilians, including at least 2 Western journalists.
We don't kill journalists, and we consider them as messengers, and they are innocent. Maybe there are some people who pretend to be an Islamic State and kill the journalists.
Unexpectedly, they abruptly terminate the interview. They tell us that we can no longer stay in the house and that they will drive us outside the village. In the car, we ask whether they want to make Lebanon part of their Islamic State.
The Islamic Caliphate can work in Iraq, but here in Lebanon, it is multi-confessional and all live together. The Lebanese population is 3 million, so they cannot make a caliphate.
They belong to an organization that America and their allies bomb in Iraq and Syria. I ask if they are afraid of them. The answer is no. Marif Noshnati, Lebanese-Syrian border.
Watching that, I want to resume what I was saying before I played the clip, and that is the satanic element, the satanic conspiracy involved in America's backing of Islam, America's backing of the demonic ISIS group, the demonic FSA. What is the difference between ISIS and FSA? Absolutely nothing. The only difference is the letters. FSA, ISIS. That's the only difference. So America's really working with ISIS. America is working with ISIS. America is providing the weapons. America has been providing the weapons. Now, try to wrap your mind around this one. Obama, remember when he was in the early years of his presidency, remember when Obama wanted to put a ban on semi-automatic weapons, which would, by extension, be imposed on pistols, 22 caliber rifles, hunting rifles. Remember that? And I remember writing an article posing the question, why is Obama wanting to get rid of the Second Amendment in the United States, but he wants to give a Second Amendment to terrorists? Why does he want to take away the Second Amendment right from Americans who simply want to defend themselves from home invasion, because there's a lot of psychopaths in the United States, but he wants to give that same right to Muslim terrorists? Answer: Satan is involved. The demonic is involved. When you look at the Western backing of the Muslim terrorists, I cannot help but be reminded of that scene from Rush Hour 2 when Chris Tucker, Detective Carter, is in the plane and he tells Jackie Chan, he says, Lee, let me explain to you Carter's theory of criminal investigation.
Lee, let me introduce you to Carter's theory of criminal investigation. Follow the rich white man.
Follow the rich white man?
Exactly, now you're learning. Every big crime has a rich white man behind it waiting for his cut. Now, in our case, we know who the rich white man is. Stephen Rain.
Who?
Stephen Rain, the hotel billionaire. I saw him on Ricky Tan's boat. When the shooting started, he was way too cool. And I'm gonna tell you something, when people start shooting, white people ain't that cool. They either running around, hiding behind tables, or screaming like, ah!
You sound like that all the time.
Behind every big crime, there's a rich white man waiting to get his cut. Follow the rich white man. Follow the rich white man? Now you learn it. And then Chris Tucker says, behind every big crime, there's a rich white man with a suit waiting to get his cut. Now, to go beyond all the racial controversy behind that, there is truth, much truth to what is said in that scene. In that, here you have a big crime, ISIS and al-Nusra and FSA, going into Syria, going into Lebanon, going into Iraq, slaughtering Christians, killing people, doing all sorts of horrific massacres. And you think, that's the enemy, right? That's the enemy. Boom. Those are the guys. You look at it from the surface, and that's what it appears to be. But then, you go behind the curtain, and what do you find? You find rich men, powerful men in America, in Europe, backing this up. And so the problem, the ultimate problem is not Islam. I mean, Islam is part of the problem. But it's not the ultimate problem. The ultimate evil is the satanic support of Islam. And so even if you got rid of Islam, these same evil, powerful men who are behind the curtain would find something else to support to advance their evils. Just to give you an example, just to give you guys an example, the Japanese in World War II, who helped the Japanese become technologically advanced? It was the West. Teddy Roosevelt supported the Japanese because he wanted them to defeat the Chinese and the Russians. And so America backed the Japs up. America became allies with the Japanese before they invaded China. And even when the Japanese were slaughtering the people in Nanking and in China, and slaughtering people by the millions in Asia, the West really didn't do much until America was attacked. So the Japanese were not Muslims, they were Buddhists, but America backed them up. Now what is happening with Japan right now? You have Shinzo Abe recently making a very charismatic speech, saying, come on Japan, we gotta change ourselves, we gotta go back to the militant state. And who's backing Japan up? The United States. Why? Because they want Japan to fight Russia and China. So you have America backing Muslims, America backing Zen Buddhist pagans who want to bring back the tyrannical, demonic slaughterhouse called Imperial Japan. So follow the rich white man. Follow the rich white man and you will see the backing of evil. You will see the support of evil. And just look at what happened in 1971, where you had Indonesia invading East Timor, an independent Catholic nation, and slaughtering Catholics by the tens of thousands, raping Catholic women by the tens of thousands. And who was backing them up? Australia. Who was backing them up? United States. England. Margaret Thatcher, the woman who you praise as this great epitome of female morality and female leadership, all you feminists out there. Margaret Thatcher was the one who was helping the Muslim Indonesians slaughter the Christians in East Timor. Go look it up if you don't believe me. And who was helping the Ottoman Empire as they were warring with Western Europe, Christendom, in the 16th century? It was, and even after that, in later times, it was the United States, it was England, it was the Lutherans. So the Western backing, and I should say the Western Protestant backing of Muslim terrorists and Zen Buddhist slaughterers and murderers goes back a very long ways. So, just to repeat myself, look at the pool of blood, the ocean of blood before you, and behind it you will see very powerful, wealthy men backing it up. Follow Carter's theory of criminal investigation, and you will see the source of this evil. The source of the evil is the diabolical men, devil worshippers, backing other devil worshippers. That is what it comes down to. It comes down to satanic people backing this up, backing evil up. This is Theodore Schubart. I hope you guys have enjoyed this message. I hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless and God be with us.